All right, so I've just warmed up for 2 minutes. I did a high intensity jog for one loop around a soccer field, so about 400 meters. And I'll do flexibility, I'll do neuromuscular activation. We will activate the rotator cuff muscles. We want to fire those neurons that are connected to our muscles and get those livened. We're going to be dealing with stabilizing our joints through resistance training. So we're going to use some resistance bands to strengthen our ankles, to strengthen our hips, to strengthen our vertebrae, to improve our core strength, and especially the glenohumeral or the shoulder joint, the least stable joint in all of our bodies. We as human beings have to be wary of those, especially if you're active at your age and you're a woman. Bone density tends to decrease over time, and we're actually going to be stimulating bone growth. And we're going to supplement that, the physical training aspect with a healthy diet. So we'll talk about our sugar intake and our carbohydrate intake, because we're gonna have to cut back. That means fewer trips to Amish country. Yes, Mom, I said it. Anyway, so that's where we're going to be at. We're gonna have 10 total workouts. If you include the neuromuscular activation or the warm-up, we'll have 10 workouts, but I'm also going to post individually all of the workouts that we're going to use, and I'll add them as we go. But you'll see all of these workouts on the website or on my YouTube channel. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start out with the rotator cuff shoulder activation. We've already warmed up. We've gone for our run, and now we want to activate our motor neurons, our muscles, and our fibers that are connected to our brains, and we want to activate all of those connections. So we're going to start out with an internal and external rotator cuff activation. So we're going to shoulder rotate in and out at different angles. You notice I'm taking my straight arms and moving them out in front of me, to my sides, at different angles of the shoulder, and then we're going to internally and externally rotate. Now we'll do a forward swim motion, forward stroke, maybe one or two each. There's a second one. Then we might go back here. Yeah, we'll go back with the left, back with the right. You can do one more if you want. I like to externally rotate and bring my pecs together, bring my chest together. Notice that the arms are going one over the other, and I'm switching with every rep. Now I'll internally rotate. Remember, we were similarly doing an internal-external rotation at the beginning. Now we are going to internally rotate and perform the same action. It's kind of windy. I'm going to go ahead and turn down the volume so I can hear myself talk here. So this is a simple maneuver that I like to do that I learned in yoga. Very basic, simple movements. We're just activating. We don't have to do 20 reps. We don't have to do 3 sets of 30. We'll get there eventually, but we are just trying right now to activate the tricep area, the deltoids, the pectoralis, the rotator cuff, the rhomboids, the latissimus dorsi. Here is going to be your rhomboid and shoulder blade stretch. We'll get it from a side view. As you can see, the upper back, the thoracic, the upper thoracic area directly behind your heart. This is a protraction. So we're protracting the shoulder blades, but we're stretching the rhomboids in the back muscles that connect the shoulder blades. All right, so we'll continue that. Now, mind you, you just saw me kind of tuck my chin back. We want to stand up straight. All right, this is very important for our posture as we go to the pecs and shoulder stretch. Now we've got our hands behind our backs and we're stretching our pectoralis muscle group, standing up straight. I'm looking down, looking all over the place. The next one, we're going to have the triceps and abdominal stretch. I'll turn around very shortly, but as you can see, I'm going to press my hands behind my back and I'm going to extend my shoulders. All right. That's your shoulder flex, actually. That's not an extension. That's a shoulder flex, actually. And we're just going to breathe in, breathe out, and we're going to work our abdominal area as well as our triceps. We're doing a tricep stretch as well as an abdominal stretch, and now I will, keeping my legs planted firmly on the ground, keeping my trunk in place, I'm going to lean, stretching my latissimus dorsi as well as the obliques. And now I'm going to maintain, I'm going to try to keep my trunk in position, right? And maneuver my trunk, or keep my trunk or my hips in position and maneuver my upper torso. All right, now I had my hands on my hips just to show you can continue and keep this tricep pose and do the same thing. I find a better stretch is accomplished in doing so. All right, and it's not as much of a pronounced movement as it looked. As you can tell, it's very simple. We're just trying to activate those muscle groups. As we move to the pelvic tilt, it's simple. Pelvic tilt in, tilt out. Now notice my knees move a little bit. We want to reduce that movement as much as possible. It's impossible to completely isolate these, but we basically want to activate those muscles in the core area, specifically the pelvic area, so the hips, the obliques, the abdominis erectus muscles. We want to target these simple muscles and activate them towards a better posture. A lot of people who end up with a lot of disabilities, a lot of chronic pain in their sciatic, as I'm pointing out now, what you'll find is because certain muscles get tight, others are weaker, and you end up with pelvic tilts and so on and so forth. And when these muscles aren't properly managed and fired, when you're not calling on them, when the brain's not saying, hey, I need to fire these muscle groups, I need to move them in exercise. Exercise is basically moving things that you think about moving. Your joints that you think about moving, you move because you think about it first. So that's what we want to do. This is a cognitive approach to begin working out. We're not all world-class athletes. Randy Moss used to show up to the game on game day and say, Randy Moss, don't warm up. And you know this. That's not me. I'm not Randy Moss, and neither are you. All right, and so we'll move straight into a shallow side lunge pose. And now this is going to be important for us because we're going to be doing some body weight squats in the future. I want to see where you're at strength-wise. As you can see, my left leg, as I lean to the left, is posed. I'm actually isometrically working those leg muscles on that left leg. Isometric meaning stationary, and I'm reaching up and basically reaching up and over my head. As you can see, I've already switched over to the right side. Now I'm working the right side, and we're going to stretch that latissimus dorsi, your sides, right, your obliques. And in the meantime, this is a very shallow lunge pose, meaning I can go deeper. See how deep I go here? That's a little deep. As I go deeper, that's more advanced if you're stronger, but we'll work on that. This is how we gauge our strength. We're listening to our body right now. As we move into the trunk twist, we're basically listening to our body, determining what's ailing us, where the inflammation is. If you're not used to moving like this, now is a good opportunity to find out exactly where your ailments are. Where are you weak? And you can report back to me, and then we will develop a routine that will target those weaker muscle groups. We are going to be doing this solo, which is important. Now we move to a vertebrae stretch. We're going to sit down, cross our legs over, and as you can see, the right leg's crossed over the left. So I'm going to twist to my right, and I'm going to create some leverage with that left elbow and twist to the right. Now I will switch as I begin to sweat. All right, so we'll switch. You'll see my back for a brief period of time here. Left over right, twisting to the left, Nothing too crazy. We're not trying to hurt ourselves. We just want a good solid stretch. All the while, we need to be breathing. Breathing techniques in exercise is one of the most important things that we can do as we move forward and learn about our bodies here through exercise physiology. We'll explain about oxygen uptake and those type of things, blood pressure, so on and so forth, and why it's important to have good breathing patterns when you're doing any kind of physical activity, specifically a regimented regimented exercise program. Now, this is going to be a stretch for the triceps, but it's also going to be a stretch for the shoulder. All right, this is going to be very important for both shoulders. And what I like to do is put one leg in front of the other. As you can see, that's a tricep extension, which we'll do later on. But as you can see, we're just stretching the shoulder. So we've warmed up, we've done our neuromuscular activation. There's a nice connection going, signals between the central nervous system and our muscle tissues. The neuromuscular junctions are primed and ready to go. So we're gonna start with what I call a shallow lunge extension. So we're gonna extend one leg, start from a shallow lunge position, and I will demonstrate. And then I'll come in mic'd up with commentary to help describe it later on. We're gonna extend the knee joint using our quadricep muscles, and then it's a dynamic movement in that you have some hip flexion and hip extension happening. So you have some gluteus maximus, the gluteus medius, your butt muscles, all right? And these are your different muscle groups that we'll activate, and we'll focus on our balance, our core strength, and this is the first one. So all right, so for our first exercise of the day, shallow lunge extension. As you can see, I'm in a deep lunge pose right now, all right? I'm all the way, if you can tell, my right knee is nearly touching the ground. That's not shallow, that's deep. And that's a full lunge extension. So I'm extending that leg upwards, right? Now I'm going to be more shallow. You see how that right leg isn't going all the way down as in the beginning? That's shallow. I'm staying in the shallow, okay? So we're not getting a full range of motion of our knee for now, but we're still activating the muscles in the quadricep. Notice how that front leg is not really leaving the ground. It can. If you do a high intensity, you can jump a little off the ground there. If you're an athlete, I would recommend driving those toes into the ground and upwards, using the momentum, creating a dynamic movement of explosive movement, right? If you're an athlete. But since we're doing a shallow lunge, you can see that lead leg. I'll switch legs here. I'll do it from the front. The right leg is the lead leg. Notice the hands. I've got the 33-ounce bottled waters in each hand. You can do it with none. You can start with just regular body weight. Notice I'm semi or a shallow lunge extension, and I'm extending that leg up. Full extension means straight. And the quadricep in the front is being activated. But I'm also, as you see, the left leg that's kicking up, that's a hip extension, right? And we're going to do plenty of these. All right, so for exercise number 2, this is going to be a kneeling or a standing abdominal resistance band twist. And we're gonna anchor the resistance band. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate with my medium resistance band, and then I will come in later on mic'd up and provide a little bit of commentary for this exercise. This is going to be a core strength workout. I use kneeling if there are folks who have issues with your meniscus in your knee. This does tend to put some undue pressure on that area, especially that joint. I personally like standing because I do incorporate a more dynamic approach. If I'm throwing punches, for example, I'm incorporating hip movement, but we're going to isolate for now. And so we can stand or we'll do a kneeling. I'll do both, provide some commentary, and then we'll move forward. All right, so for the next workout, we have the standing and kneeling anchor twist. Now the standing, I will go ahead and commentary on first. We're pulling from my left to right. Notice I've got a slight bounce in the knees as I twist and then come back to the starting. I prefer doing it this way because I do train to fight. I train to throw punches. I like to drive my hips. But this is mainly for your torso, all right? So we want to isolate those knees and the hip movement as much as possible. And you'll see the way I do it, and then I'll correct myself. Watch going from the down to up, as I switch and pull from right to left now. Watch, I'll correct myself right here. No more bouncing, just straight from right to left. That's how we want to do it. We want 3 sets of 30 of those things. Now I'll move to the kneeling. This is an alternative. You can do a little bit of both. You can do 1 set of 10, 1 set of 10, 1 set of 10 standing, and then 1 set kneeling. It's up to you. But generally speaking, we're going to do in between 20 and 30 of these. So we'll do 3 sets of 20 or 3 sets of 30, and it just depends on how we feel. But this is the standing and kneeling anchored twist. This is for your abdominal rotary muscles. All of those core muscles. You've got a little bit of minor hip flexion. You have to maintain your posture in this workout as well. So you're going to feel it in your gluteus maximus, your buns. You're going to feel it in your hip flexors on the front portion of your hips. And you're, of course, going to feel it in your abdominal area as well as we switch position in the kneeling and pull from right to left. You see there's minimal bounce now. It's just mainly horizontal movement. There's not a lot of vertical movement now, and that's important. All right, moving on to the next exercise. The next exercise that we're going to be performing are very simple. We are going to be manipulating our ankles using resistance bands, and we can use any type of resistance band that we want. In this case, I will demonstrate using an open resistance band with the handles. Okay, so they're open, but you can use a closed loop band. So we're going to strengthen the ankle. The ankle is very important, especially if we've had previous foot injuries or ankle injuries. You're always further prone to those injury points over time. So if you can keep those things healthy, active, and in tune, we reduce our risk of losing our balance, because it's going to be all about balance. It's going to be about core strength, and then anything that we decide to do in the future, you know, we found a purpose. Anything we choose to do, physically speaking, in the future, we have a foundation and we can move forward. And this is a key. This is a key workout and exercise that I feel like a lot of people go away from. And it's that one time when you decide to go be Mr. Athlete again, when you haven't properly trained. You should always be trained basically, and I believe that we don't necessarily train those joints the way we should to take care of them. Some people do, a lot of people don't, and this is what we want to reverse. We want to reverse course with that and start taking care of those joints, especially the shoulders, especially the ankles. So we'll get it in. I'll demonstrate, and then I'll come in mic'd up later on with the commentary. All right, and then these are basic ankle flexion and rotation. We're going to do external rotation as well as the flexion. So this will be your plantar flexion for the ankle. And I'm not going to comment too much. We're just going to switch. As you can tell, I'm doing it with no shoes on. I prefer to grip with the toes, and I like to do it with the toes because now you're incorporating toe strength. All right, so we're actually working out the toes as well, and that's important. We want stability. We've already had a broken foot. We've had a foot injury, a significant one at that. And so strengthening our feet and our ankles like this will help us reduce our risk of future injuries. And it's as simple as that. We need to stay on our feet. We need to have a purpose in life for the rest of our lives, even in our older age. And this includes just keeping basic strength in our ankles and our feet. Now with this, you see the external rotation. Nice and easy. We can do in between 10 and 20 of each. You know, you do 2 to 3 sets of these. And we'll specify exactly how much we're doing, all right? When we develop our workouts and design them, we will be writing down how many sets, how many reps, what the intensity or what kind of weight we have. Do we have a heavy resistance band? This is a heavy resistance band. All right, next exercise up, we're going to do modified push-ups. We know what a push-up is. but I'd like to give it a modified version because not everybody does them, and I saw the look on a lot of people's faces when I mentioned push-ups and people aren't accustomed to doing so. When we have people that have pre-existing conditions, let's say you have chronic arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, a lot of folks have joint pain, specifically in their hands, their wrists, maybe their knees. It just varies. Maybe all of it, right? Depending on the severity. And so we want to modify a lot of our exercises to the best of our ability to ensure that we're not hurting ourselves excessively. If I'm providing this information and supplemental video and I'm not present, I certainly want to ensure that we're doing a modified version. And I'm also going to include an alternative to doing push-ups. So I'll do, I would replace the modified push-ups with resistance band anchored flies. So I'll use resistance bands with handles, anchor them to an object, and perform a fly for the pectoralis major group, your deltoids, and those are the same muscles that we target when we do push-ups as well. So we can replace that portion of the push-up with an anchored fly. I'll demonstrate with the resistance band, and then I'll come in later mic'd up and provide some analysis. And then the next one that we would do right after would be to use the same resistance band. Either you can use a light, you can use a medium, you can use heavy, depending on your skill level, your strength level. And we're going to perform resistance band tricep extensions. So I will demonstrate, and then I'll come in later mic'd up again and give the analysis and comment. All right, how are we doing up there? I see we're good. Okay, going back down to the modified push-up for our next exercise. I'm going to start out and do 1 or 2 regular push-ups. Ready? Nice and easy, nice and slow. Keep my back straight. We'll do 1. Now we're going to anchor ourselves and do a modified push-up. Less intense, less body weight. I'm going to keep my elbows tucked towards my sides, extend up. This is a tricep and pec muscle workout, upper body, shoulders, deltoids. All right, nice and easy. Notice my elbows are out. Now they're in. We want them in. Out, no. In, yes. I'll show you when we can have our elbows out. Right now we're going to target our triceps. So we're extending our elbow down and up. So full extension, full flexion. Full flexion down, full extension up. We can widen it. That's when we can put our elbows out. If we widen our grips, now we are putting less effort into our tricep, the back of our arm, and more of the burden on our pecs. And then moving straight into anchored flies, the one-arm version. Notice, watch how I manipulate and anchor the resistance band and grab these resistance bands. They can be very awkward. Once you get going with this fly and understand the movement of the exercise, that's not the difficult part. The difficult part is going to be anchoring and manipulating the resistance bands. But notice I've got one arm forward. I'm using the left arm here. This is going to be a two-hand, so I must be kind of strong, but we don't have to all do the double band. We can do one, but this is just to show a little higher intensity. You can notice my muscles on my arms. They're flexed. We are contracting these muscles. We're breaking down muscles with resistance training. We're breaking down the proteins, and then we have to build them up through protein synthesis, and this is how we get bigger muscles and stronger muscles and a better metabolism. Now I'll switch sides. Notice one leg's in front. I'm facing directly forward. I don't want to rotate my torso. Notice how my pecs generally stay on the same plane. I don't move them. I'm just moving my arm, basically. And as we quickly move, doing double time here. This is where the chipmunks come along and start singing their songs. All right, now this is just from a forward view. You'll notice, again, I'm facing forward.
I'm going to finish up strong with the right arm. I'm going to show you from the side what it would look like. Boom. But then come right back to the front. If I remember correctly, yes I do. Here we go. Right back to the front. I want to point myself directly forward. Now, notice that my feet are about shoulder width apart and they seem kind of off, like my legs do. I'm working the pec muscles. As you can see, I like to feel them to make sure they're working, right? They're firing. But I'm also stabilizing myself and keeping myself from throwing the rest of my body all over the place and rotating and torquing all over the place. We want to isolate that muscle group that I'm touching right there. So this is a good workout to balance as well. And now to supplement this workout, we're going to do the tricep extension. So instead of doing the modified push-ups, if we choose not to do the pull-ups, or push-ups rather, then we're going to do our tricep extension, or these, and then these will supplement the workout that we just did. All right, with the pec flies. So this is, you're just going to grab the resistance band as shown, and you're going to extend your arm up. I'm extending my left arm up, and I'm contracting the tricep. Switching arms. Now I'm doing the right side. This is what it looks like from behind. You manipulate or you grab that resistance band any way that you can. We want it to be as painless. It's not supposed to be painful or anything like that, but you know, we want some tension on that resistance band for greater resistance. We want to strengthen ourselves. We're not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but we're trying to be healthy like Arnold, right? We want healthy bones, healthy muscles, maintain a good posture, and finish this set of tricep extension. Great job.
All right, moving on to the next exercise. We've got toe touches and side crunches. So we've already targeted our core area with our anchored resistance band abdominal twists, right? We did those earlier. And now we're going to continue by doing some toe touches and our side crunches. And we're going to do both the higher skill version as well as a modified version for toe touches, because we want to reduce our lower back issues that a lot of us may have. And since a lot of us are a little bit older, toe touch crunches are difficult to do. So I'll go ahead and give a modified version. I'll do a demonstration of each, and then I will come on later mic'd up and get the commentary as usual. And we are going to be targeting our abdominal area and our oblique.
All right, so for the next workout, we've got toe touches. Now, this is for those of advanced skill, right? I started with my, fully extended with my feet towards the ground. You can leave your feet up and reach back, and then reach back up, or you can do a full toe touch or 3/4, which that's about 3/4. Or you can keep your feet all the way up. These are just different modifications, right? You can keep your feet up and only move your upper body. We want torso action. We want a crunch action. We want to touch those toes. All right. This is another modified version. I'll go ahead and take my hat off right here. This is just a modified version. Instead of toe touches, you can put your fingers through the front of your knee, as you can see there. We want to be able to reach up. We want to be able to have strong abs. As we zoom in a little closer, nice and easy. Notice I'm breathing in and then breathing out as I contract. As I contract muscles, I'm breathing out always. This is the breathing pattern that we need to use. All right, from here, we're going to go ahead and switch to the side. So we've done our straight toe touch crunch. Now we do side crunches. All right, so we've already fatigued these muscles. We're going to continue to do so. We can do maybe 10 toe touches from the front like we just did, and then we can do the side. As you see me I like to touch the muscles that are going to be working out. Notice I raise the legs. This is an advanced side crunch. I'll show you a less advanced version, as I'm going to go ahead and I will flatten my legs on the ground and only raise my upper midsection on the side. As you can see, I'm going to reach down, or I can keep my left arm touching my head. That creates more resistance. Notice I'm actually using that arm. We don't want to use that down arm to push off the ground. We want to try to isolate those muscles that I'm touching. Those are the muscles we're going to work out. You might do 10 of each side as a beginner. All right, we want to stimulate those muscles, activate them. That's not a terrible range of motion. It could be better. The haircut could be better too. Holy head of hair. All right, as I put my legs on the ground now and do a modified version, we'll finish up those side crunches, and that's that.
All right, moving forward from the toe touches, the modified toe touches, and the side crunches, we're gonna move forward with the resistance band internal external rotation. The goal of this workout or exercise is to activate the rotator cuff, strengthen the rotator cuff for internal external rotation of the shoulder. Whether we're working overhead, we're in the garden, we're in the gym, whatever the case, we need to ensure that the weakest joint or least stable joint in the body, the shoulder, is well taken care of, and these should be incorporated no matter what you do in life. If you've got 10 minutes to spare during the day and you have some resistance bands, or even if you don't, if you have a water bottle or something, you can actually use a water bottle to do internal and external rotation. On a daily basis, we should be doing those. We already targeted certain muscle groups minorly in doing the modified push-ups. Now we're going to target them really, the shoulder ultimately, with the rotator cuff. You will feel some fatigue. I'm going to use a medium resistance band, and you just pay attention to the way that I anchor the band and then the way that I manipulate it to ensure that the arm that I'm using is going to have the most effective resistance possible. We want these workouts to be effective for us and work. I'll go ahead and do the demonstration with the medium resistance band, and then I'll come back on later, mic'd up with a little bit of commentary.
All right, so for the next exercise, a shoulder internal external rotation. Notice how I manipulate the resistance band. I'm using a single side of the band. I'm not doubling it up. All right, I've just got my hands on one. That's what it's going to look like from the side, and then back to the front. This is starting internal, and I'm externally rotating. Notice I'm pulling out away from my midsection, away from the midline. So that's external rotation of the rotator cuff. Standing. You can do it kneeling, you can do it standing, whichever you prefer. All right, keeping the elbow to the side as much as possible. Now what I'll do, oh, God bless me, I didn't cover up. The COVID police are going to come after me. All right, so now I want to stay facing. So I switched arms. Now I've got the left arm, and I'm doing an internal rotation. So I start externally. Right there is external, starting external, and rotating inward for an internal rotation towards the midline. Again, working the rotator cuff. I want to keep that elbow pinned towards the latissimus dorsi or my sides, all right? Now as I switch here. And the confusing part's going to be about learning how to manipulate or handle the resistance band. This is the easy part. As you can see from the back, I want my elbow in more. You notice how my elbow's not pinned to my side. We want to pin that thing as close to the side as possible. I didn't do a very good job. And then this will be the internal rotation, starting from external, internal rotation of the right arm. All right, now let's see if I do a good job with the elbow here. Notice how I'm switching it up. I'm creating a little more resistance on that band. There we go. Got to be strong. I've got to put forth a lot of effort. I'm going to break down a lot of muscle proteins to be built back up in that shoulder so that we can pick those boxes up and carry them on Wednesday mornings for our shelf stocking.
All right, moving on with the next exercise, we have what I call the standing rhomboid activation. Your rhomboids are going to be responsible for the retraction of your scapula or your shoulder blades in the back, and we basically want a reverse fly motion in a sense, and reverse flies with the resistance band anchored to another object is an exercise that we will get into. But for now, I just want to do something very simple since this is the beginning stages of our progression towards greatness. We are going to utilize a resistance band to simply pull on the transverse anatomical line in that direction. And we are going to activate the rhomboids while maintaining, this is the key part, while maintaining a healthy posture. And I'm gonna catch myself doing this because when I do this workout, I do it 2 or 3 times a week. I try to do it anytime I bring out the equipment and I've got the resistance bands with me. I do simple, quick pulls just to activate the neuromuscular junctions before I get going. It's part of my neuromuscular activation routine. That's what this is as well. We're gonna activate and stimulate the rhomboid muscles in the back because when these muscles become weak, we lack posture. We begin to chronically induce poor posture upon ourselves, and we don't want to do that. So we want to keep those muscles activated, and this is a good way of doing so. We'll start out with something very similar, and then we'll eventually bump up the intensity, the volume, the resistance. We want to become stronger with progression over time. So that's what we'll do. I'll demonstrate using a medium resistance band, and then I'll come back on mic'd up with a little bit of commentary as well later on.
All right, our next exercise is the transverse rhomboid activation. We need our medium resistance band, and we are going to start from the starting position with our arms straight out in front of us like so. Minimal tension. We want tension right there as I zoom in here. And we're just going to pull directly back, keeping our arms straight. I'm breathing out as I'm pulling. Breathing back in, resetting to start, and breathing out just like so. From a side angle, notice my posture, upright. Chin, upright and tucked. Neck straight. The pull, directly horizontal, right? This is on the transverse plane, so we're pulling horizontally. And we're doing many of these. We're doing them towards the end of our workout. I'm very fatigued right now. Those rhomboid muscles, because we've been activating those postural muscles since the beginning of the workout, now that we're actually going to incorporate some power into those smaller muscle groups, you're going to see that they're going to get fatigued very quickly. This is a good thing. All right, so I'll give a quick view from behind here. Oh, yeah, don't forget. All right, so as we go from the back, we're just basically going to be pinching the shoulder blade or the scapula together through retraction band. There's your retraction. I'm breathing out right now, resetting now, breathing back in, now breathing out. Breathing out, just like so. We're always breathing out with our muscle contraction.
All right, so moving forward, the final 2 exercises that we're going to do, I'm going to do them together. One's called the hip manipulation. I like to use this. This is called my bread and butter. Jeremy's bread and butter. It's what I always like to go to for basic, foundational, fundamental balance in hip manipulation. We're going to be manipulating our hip, and our balance, our body weight is going to change slightly. And so that's going to require your muscles, the little muscles, to activate in your legs and your core in order to balance you, to maintain balance. And it's kind of windy outside, so that always helps, makes it more challenging as well. So we're going to manipulate our hip with a hip abduction, adduction, and I'll explain in my commentary when I'm mic'd up later. And we're going to do hip extension, hip flexion. All right, and in doing so, we're going to change where our body weight, the center of gravity lies, and our muscles have to adjust. And this is about balance. It's not so much about the muscles that are contracting to move the manipulated leg. Rather, I'm more concerned about the leg that's anchored to the ground, as you'll see in my demonstration, to maintain balance. The next one we'll do with directly following. We're going to lay on our side and we're going to do a hip abduction, subtraction, sub-ab. That's how I like to remember these things. I know, crazy, sidetrack. Anyway, moving forward, we're going to do a hip abduction using, boom, a light resistance loop band. All right, so this one's considered light, and I'm going to use it. I'll demonstrate lying on my side, and then we'll do a straight leg hip abduction. So I'm going to hit the hips at the end. So you're going to get a little bit of fatigue. You'll be sweating, and this will be a workout that we will do usually to maintain our focus. At the end of a workout, your heart rate's been increased, your metabolism's been increased, you're probably fatigued, you're sweating, you're probably out of your comfort zone a little bit, and the key for the hip manipulation is going to be to maintain your balance and maintain your focus when you are tired, when you are mentally drained. Remember, you've been focusing for an extended period of time. Everybody needs that snack now. Everybody needs that break. Everybody's got to go get lost in something else. All right, you're losing your focus. This is the end. Prove to yourself you can focus, you can maintain your balance, and accomplish the final workout. So again, we're going to do the hip manipulation, and then we'll go straight into a hip abduction, a sideways hip abduction, whatever you want to call it. You can call it your own thing. So enjoy. I will demonstrate and come back mic'd up later on with some commentary.
All right, and for our final two workouts, we're going to do them together. We're going to feel a little more fatigue. We're going to start with the band laying hip abduction. We're going to lay on our sides, wrap a loop band, and this is of medium thickness, medium resistance, right? Lay on our sides, lay the superior leg or the leg on top. We have that straightened, and you can bend the other or leave it straight as well. It's up to you. I bend the left leg, keep the right leg straight, and I am abducting my hip. We are soon going to be doing hip manipulation, which is also another exercise where we are abducting our hips. So you're going to feel fatigue in this region, your gluteus maximus, your medius, all of those muscle groups in the hip you're going to feel, especially with the leg extenders, right? Or our hip extenders. And there's a good view of those hip extenders, right? So we'll do 3 sets of these. You can do them between 10 and 20. We want to get a feel in our first week or two about our strength. Where is our strength? Do we feel good doing these? Right? And then we will switch. And now we're going to grab our weight, our bottles, or you can do just body weight. No empty hands. I like to incorporate a little extra weight. All right, I'm doing an external rotation. External rotation and external movement, or abduction. External rotation of the leg. Notice I'm moving the left leg, but I'm pointing at the right because I'm more focused on that muscle that needs to keep my pelvis in place and allow my body to stay balanced. Because as I move my legs, my body weight is being shifted. So that leg that's anchored and touching the ground now has to maintain balance, and it has to adjust. So all these little muscles in the lower area where the ankle is, where the calves are, where the hip is as you move up, has to adjust. And so all those little muscles, those balance muscles, are firing right now, and we're actually fatiguing them. As you can see, I had to shake that one out. That one was a little discombobulated there as I'm figuring out. Now is a hip extension backwards. So we're actually, notice I lost my balance. I'm tired, I'm fatigued. I need to focus, right? I didn't touch the ground, but I almost did. So we're extending and then flexing. Extend, flex, extend, flex, extend, flex. And I'm moving my arms with my legs. It's regular locomotion. My papers were flying away. Stand by. All right. So we'll start from the front. This is what the leg extension looks like from the front. Nice and easy. I tend to get more aggressive with them as we go along if I'm doing them in my workout, but just for instructional purposes, I'm not going to go beast mode on anybody here. And there it is.